There you go.
So, not our usual, not our last couple of usual rules in Sage. And strangely enough, no dragons of blood tonight. But we have our scents going, we've got our sippy sip, and we have Seth McLaren. Do we have any questions at this point?
Nope.
All right. Well, again, it's always a pleasure to play. And I'm very, very glad that you're willing to spend this time with me. And this is For the Record, officially in the Shadow of the White City, Season 4, Episode 4.5. What is chaos to the fly is normal to Seth. We close in on Seth. His eyes closed, bracing for the pain of transmutation. Because based on everything he was able to put together, the proliferation of spell work being done, the fact that there was a death, the fact of the silver even melted, having already done its work, magnifying and protecting the spell that was already in the works. And having fallen for that setup, having fallen for that immediate blitzkrieg of focus, Seth, when he steps into the hall, knows that this should be a transmogrification ritual. It should change anything that moves beyond the boundary and lock in everything within it. Bracing for the worst, because unlike the fantasy of his earlier years, unlike the fantasy of Star Trek and the Wizard of Earthsea, transmogrification, i.e. transporting, is not a painless reality. You are not broken down into nothingness and rearranged back into yourself. You are shredded, torn asunder, and feel every moment of it. It is one of the more painful ways to instantaneously move one thing to another place. And the fact that there's peace in this moment is, above all else, the most startling of thing for Seth. While he wasn't the best student, he does have a fairly strong memory due to years of note-taking and shorthand to memorize details quickly, to memorize small facts and recall them with almost absolute clarity, so that he can make a note on it later and follow up and via other investigatory means. But the peace, silence, is troubling.
At this point, he finally gets to finish the sentence he started. Figures. And there being no pain, he opens one eye and then the other.
Leaning against the far wall is Brigitte. Around him, strangely enough, holding the world at bay, making everything beyond him and her a mass of absolute nothingness. And it's a seemingly endless void with no beginning, no middle, and no point of location. Now that we're alone, and you've proven to be a good upstanding Bostonian, I guess I don't have to try to sound like you guys over here constantly. So, McLaren, what do you think? Who do you think you've pissed off?
I've not pissed off a soul. Not one. I've done as I was told by my betters, and I've followed the rules.
Well, there are rules within rules.
I did not say that as a group, things have gone against us, leading us into a path that definitely has its own dangers, but the rules have been followed.
Yeah, that might be. Someone is wreaking all sorts of havoc. I can't get us back in, but the least I could do is when you called out was to attempt to help you. After all, that's what I'm here for, to help you both. You and the senator. Predominantly the senator. But she seems to rely on you a little bit more than the others. I knew that it'd be a blow if whatever this was to befall you foully. So here we are, wherever we're supposed to be. Now I can't get us back in. Do you have any ideas?
We're getting back in?
That was the idea, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not entirely sure exactly where we are, which makes it a bit more difficult on my part. But all the same, I should be able to return once I came, yet I can't.
Well, I can tell you're going against blood sorcery, some kind of ritual, and to be honest, I didn't think it can. Even if you could get us through your shadows, it wouldn't be within the building. I was walking the threshold when you nabbed me. So we may be stuck in the threshold or just outside, which means we can't go back there, but we might be able to go somewhere outside and find a more mundane way to get in.
There's very little about me that's mundane, but let's give it a shot, shall we? She raises her hand, and in the doing, for a brief flickering moment, both her pupils and sclera around her eyes, the entirety of cornea, drop to blackness, an inky, almost wispy smoke-like matter for a few seconds, a few nanoseconds, an eye blink and a half, and then they're back to her lovely blues. And in the doing, as her hands fall back to her sides, you find yourself in what could be best described as a factory park. There are buildings to your left and to your right. Where you all are, there is a circle of basalts and lime rung whole around a space roughly 150 feet. You can smell, unfortunate though it may be to be able to do so, but you can smell Lake Michigan. You can smell the almost clean but far filthier than one would expect waters of one of the larger inland lakes, the Indonesian Ocean, one of the largest bodies of fresh water in the Midwest and predominantly the entirety of the U.S. You know that based on the concrete beneath your feet, broken and marred though it is, this area has not been used in quite some time based on the weeds growing through the concrete. Based on the train tracks you can hear just under half a football field away from where you're standing. And based on the buildings, you would guesstimate that this space has not been used in quite some time.
Well, seems step one may have worked. Seems that your shadows found the path back to source. Not the target, but where the shot was fired from.
If you'd be so kind as to go ahead and roll your intelligence and blood sorcery. Unless of course you're going to take more time. If you're going to take time to study it, then it would be resolve plus blood sorcery. But the lime and basalt, the concrete, the space, there are sigils and signs. There are trappings of a greater work happening here.
Hold on, let me look at this. One or the other. Do I throw in an investigation?
No, that would be a resolve investigation after the fact. But right now, you're trying to determine and discern the spellcraft and the workings that are strewn about you.
Before you take a step, though, don't touch nothing. Don't move. Let me look at it first. Oh, yeah, baby.
For fuck's sakes, based on the signs and the sigils and the standard Tremere speak you see around the edges. Now, standard Tremere speak, but unlike most, isn't a simple cipher substitution code. It is not simply Latin. Standard Tremere, the language that you all speak in your spells, or at least it's usually passed down from one to the next, is a hodgepodge mix of Amharic, Aramaic, Greek, Kosa, and a little Latin thrown in, and it is ciphered together in such a way as it would require basic knowledge of each of those languages or basic knowledges of the Tremere as a whole. Luckily, Seth has that knowledge. This spell was mirroring what was done at whatever location was the target, which he knows, in fact, was the Pisketeers. The 4 girls on the first floor with the salt spread about. It was a feint, a 5th column attack to destroy within, in the doing of scattering the small piles of salt, in the doing of driving the wheel workers from their work, initiating their fail-safe of a timed release, putting them outside of the effects of whatever was to take place before it took place. It's a quick and dirty tactic. It's not something that's usually planned out too far in advance. Maybe the week of, maybe the day of. This sort of attack is wholly dependent on what people do in the moment when they are stressed or they're responding. A little knowledge going a very long way. And most pressingly, it clearly had nothing specifically to do with Nicole. Well, Nicole, Dia, you, Frost, or any of the others of your coterie. This was a targeted attack on a specific location, not necessarily the people there.
Well, those blood fucking cultist drug dealing pieces of... Okay. Seth marks a safe path out of the circle. Just follow my feet. Then step on any of the sigils. Get out of the circle. This was Northern Ireland. This is what this was. Somebody wasn't trying to kill us. They were trying to kill the Pisketeers. In response, no doubt, to the current dilemma we found ourselves in and the 2 facets that attached themselves to us at the same time. So this was either your people, or it was Silk's people, or it was the third party that nobody seems to know too much about that's mad at both of you.
No, try not to take too much offense, but you don't understand. Now, if I'm gonna bite my tongue and play all coy and polite around you and the lovely woman you call your senator, do you really believe that we would have set about setting a trap such as this instead of just reading you 15 minutes before sun comes up so that your only defense would be to flee into the light? Let your own sense of self-preservation do the work for us.
Well,
I'm not sure what you know about Blakeney, my sire.
I honestly don't know much about many of the senators. I know most about Nicole, and she's dead. But in a 3-way war where drugs are involved, everybody gets desperate. and everybody wants to send a message. The advantage the Pisketeers has right now is Frost's there, and he's an angry, newly formed young man. He'll keep people safe. But if this is the level things have gotten to, no offense to be given, but my trust is waning. And as a side note, you never have to pull your punches with me. You can be as dainty as you wish with the Senator or Frost or the two other Roses, but with me, just say it.
I don't think I'll say it. I'll say it true. Your paranoia is to be respected. No, you're barking at the wrong person, and they may bite back. If we wanted you dead, we wouldn't have come under a banner of friendship. That may have been the old Blakeney when she was beset, but Messiah is no longer beset. The madness has fallen away. Not sure exactly why or how, but this last year, things have changed more back to where they were. We can rage our war against the Castiglione and Tories. We can cut those bloody dustborn out of the heart of every city in our range. And most importantly, we can protect the village that Blakeney calls our own.
Well then, it seems that we're at a purpose. You know your enemies. You were amazingly unwilling to share that information with us when you tried to make a deal.
It's none of your business. Our enemies are our enemy. There's some honor in it. But to give you a heads up, we don't have any enemies living the shelter. And even they aren't really truly enemies. I suppose we should sit while we contemplate what you're going to do to make sure we get back to your lovely senator. The night's still young enough for that. And with that, she dusts off a bit of a stone that's sitting near at hand. And she sits upon it, conserving her energy more so than anything, and also taking in your surroundings. Here's another, not too far away, clearly the remnants of a bordering wall of some structure that has long fallen away.
And that's the one Seth takes to lean against.
You don't understand. This game that my sire is playing has called me home here to her side, because that's where home truly is. I left her when the madness first began because I would not fall to any tooth or fang, friend or foe. I still hold that true. But as the madness is falling away, we are coming back. A lot of us, there's 6. My own wayward child is somewhere in Gary, wherever that is. I've never been a Midwestern girl, if you understand. In the doing, in the great works that we're undertaking, we will rout out the bulk, if not all, of the blood dealers, including and especially anyone who has ties to the circulatory system. As for the shelter in Chicago, well, that's another matter entirely. They wounded my sire, placed her in a torpid form, and it took all of our efforts to get her free. They didn't know she was suffering from madness, and they had a score to settle of their own. You see, their lead investigator, Detective Darcy, stuck his nose in where it didn't belong at the behest of his bastard father, Don Constiglione. And as a sign to him, his child was made a child of ours. As a way of striking back. As you know, most kindred don't survive their first year. The plan was simple. He'd be given the opportunity for immortality, and knowing what we knew of him, his bleeding heart, his need to fight the good fight, statistically should have walked into the sun the very next day. Instead, he spent the year hounding us and his dear old dad. So, once we're done fortifying the borders, driving out all those who don't belong, and making sure that Dalton is truly unassailable from the outside, we'll set about ensuring that Detective Darcy meets the worst end possible. After all, he was supposed to die, and now the Don has returned to the Chicagoland area, making it doubly dangerous to allow such a person to continue existing. If he was a thorn in our side while still breathing, imagine what he can do, having gained a year of experience amongst us damned. So those are our plans.
So you're looking to build defense in depth within the walls of Dalton, maybe Riverdale.
Yes.
And then go after this detective fellow.
Yes.
With the one with ties to
The Castiglione and Torres, yes. The largest criminal empire here in the Midwest, which isn't saying all that much. Everyone's a criminal. Doesn't make you any bigger or badder simply because you're the largest one of them. They have fingers. Yeah, you're saying.
But with them, their clientele is a part of their power base. Your average heroin dealer can't count on his thralls to defend him, but the Blood Syndicate, they have vampires. If they tell their customer base that their continued feeding is in danger, you can look forward to that being a problem.
It's already considered. It's the reason why we want to make sure that there's a stronghold that is unassailable in Dalton. One of the reasons why we supported Genova to begin with was because while declaring independence, she's been behind closed doors, making alliances, making treaties, ensuring that people uphold their word when it comes to protecting or riding to assist. And if this village is protected by the might of the Ivory Tower of Chicago, the Camarillo's gleaming gem, then there's nothing anyone can directly do. They have to keep it a shadow war. And I'm not quite sure if you understand exactly how disastrous that would be with people who wield the shadows at their will.
Oh, I fought drug dealers in Chinatown in Boston. I know about shadow wars, and I understand the advantage you lot have, especially if such a war broke out. I think you are missing one beat though, and it surprises me that a group such as yourself would not see it as an asset and you see it as a problem.
And what do you think we're missing?
The Duskborn are unique in our lives, in our society. They're not so secretive as the Nosferatu. They're not so powerful as the Nosferatu, but they're as widespread. And they command abilities that none of us know, and once we've achieved the full blood, can't take advantage of. I think y'all would be better served making peace and treaty with the Dusk, the Thins, the Half-Bloods, whatever you call them. But keeping them as a silent partner would be much greater to your advantage than anything else.
I'll have you speak with Blakely about it, but the truth of the matter is...
you lot may have burned that bridge.
There's been warnings issued, and most glaringly, one thing that I'm not sure you understand. Blakely, like most of the elders in this portion of the world, have ties to, or once were, members of the Sword of Cain. The predominance of the elders in this area, even with the now official acceptance into the tower, is that those very same beings who are now turning on our brethren, our kin, our kith, were formerly, if not still loosely affiliated, if not full-standing members of the Sabbat. Despite what everyone believes, the entirety of the Sabbat are not raving monsters. Most of them are. The great preponderance of them, in fact, are. But there are members, such as Blakely, who left on good standing. Members like the Great Wolf of Chicago, who moved on to the Enkidu. There are members even as we speak, who are utilizing skills at infiltration, utilizing skills of social warfare to slide into the tower cities, to mix and mingle among the barony. And when the time is right, when they believe they're safe from the raving, ravenous beast of the Sword of Cain, that the Black Hand no longer has its hand at their throat, the dagger in their back will appear. Blakeney, having been aware of this, is incensed. It's the reason why she let her guard down and was beset by the madness to begin with. She believed that none understood what we faced. She believes that none would ever expect that one of their former bright stars, such as she was the whole time a member of the Black Hand. Having left it and espoused her humanity, having regained it by tooth and claw, inch by inch over the years, she believed it behind her. So did we all. But the Black Hand isn't as dead as people believe.
I find truth in all of that just because I've seen it. Power bases that go silent for no reason, or seemingly no reason, just to sprout up, dug in, and hidden within the other power bases. I've not seen it with our kind before. The blood calls as the blood calls. But it does not surprise me to hear that the Sabbat is just in wait, and it would be to their advantage if they had not been taken out root and stem to thin their own numbers, remove the most blatant violators, and then hide amongst the anarchs in the tower.
And you don't realize why Gary didn't fall. I've never been there myself. Found it too depressing. All that metal, all of that decay. I've seen pictures of how it used to look back in the 70s. It was a lovely place. Small, quaint, dying all the same. But according to what I know, what's been whispered in the shadows and spread amongst us, the reason why Gary hasn't truly fallen is because there are several members on both sides of the battle, ensuring that the war wages and only those who to be removed are removed in the battles. Those who fall are usually because both sides are working against the middle without realizing it. They're doing God's work, like Cain's work as it might be, winnowing their numbers until they're low enough for the infiltrators to finally take the step into the light, to assume the mantle of leadership, to guide them out of the dark. And right when they wholeheartedly sign on the dotted line, that's when the fangs come out.
Well, I've only had minor dealings inside Gary, but I can tell you the pictures do it justice as it stands now. It is a pillar of industry that has been crumbling for 40 years. The concrete's loose, the bars within are visible clearly everywhere. Only a few of the kind endeavors that start up there survive. And those are of the modern type. What do the kind call them? Bastards. Millennials with their little cottage industry, Etsy store bullshit. Those are the only ones making money in the city. They basically have been propping it up for the last 10 years. But I can tell you from what I've heard, after the disappearance of the Prince and the Baron some months ago, he's been up in the air from the beginning. You've got the tower with its vanguard. You've got the anarchs who can't seem to find their arsehole with 2 hands and a map. And then you've got the independents that are doing more work than mine.
You know, that's the problem with the independents. If they would put their money where their mouth was and actually pick a side, they could lead that side to victory and shut the Black Hand out. It's not likely they'll overdo that. Freedom with no purpose is just subjugation to one's own.
Well, the biggest problem the independents face is they don't know about all the sides. Everybody's keeping secrets. The independents are just trying to keep their heads above water, which means they're doing good work in the general sense, killing the odd wraith or booting out the odd St. Judas or Sash member, whatever, what have you. But without the information that the Vanguard and the Anarchs are keeping to themselves, their efforts are putting out brush fires when the whole forest is going down. So that might be something your people might want to look into. I've been trying to look into it, but I keep getting distracted by, the dead bodies. But your group has a longer reach.
Right.
And could you describe Gary again? You say you haven't been there much, but you have an actual eye on the prize, as it were. Could you describe it again? And she stands and she begins looking at the factories that surround you.
Well, Gary was prosperous in the 70s, and then all growth stopped. 10 years later, all repair stopped. So imagine outside of Boston, you had the factories to the south on the New York side. It was like that, or Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, where industry just dried up and died. All the people left, but the buildings remained. The only people not getting out were the ones who couldn't afford it, so their houses are fucking for scrap. And then he starts looking around, following her eyes.
Dilapidated factories, falling into grounds not upkept. And from what everyone remembers, having not really lived in Gary, fairly close to Lake Michigan.
To be sure, I think we found ourselves in the very city of which we speak.
That makes no sense. I thought Gary was all projects falling in on itself, homes in disrepair. This is fucking ridiculous. Well, if we're in Gary, I'm sure we can find my child or maybe some other good, kind, upstanding citizen to lead us back or let us borrow a car, maybe.
Borrow a car, she says. I was a policeman in Boston for 10 years. You think I can't get us a car?
Well, with our intention of repaying it, I'm sure. But we need to get back to your place. We need to get back to your small village and make sure that Dalton hasn't lost its way in the dark.
And more importantly, Stash and St. Judas are said to be walking about here. Not wanting to fight them tonight. We have our own problems to deal with.
No, that's just fucking lovely, isn't it? Yeah. So, if this is the lake that we think it is, and if this is a place that we're thinking it, do you believe that perhaps we should just walk that way? And she guesstimates that the lake behind you should be north, and she points to what she thinks should be south.
Brigitte, I don't mean to second guess you or, make fun, but you see the bloody great big fucking light right over there, just a little left of the water. That be Chicago. that means we head east.
Do you have any plans of walking as far as God knows it might be?
Well, until I see a street sign or get a laser rangefinder, we're a bit lost on that point. But as soon as we get a car, we can just head towards the nearest highway and know where to go.
Well, just my thought. If we're here at the lake, then the city's that way. There may be people, poor, destitute, slobs of the earth, maybe. But I'm sure they have some way of getting around.
I drive the same cars that these people do just because my cars tend to get beat up in my line of work, so I'll find something. And anyways, the older the car, the easier it is to get started. Okay, so from my knowledge of the area, I can reference Chicago because of the bright lights. I know Gary has an airport. And I also know that there's a massive interchange of freeways that go through Gary headed into either the White City or destinations east. Can I see, other than Chicago's bright lights, can I see anything else that would give me reference?
Yes, with the waterway sitting right behind you, and guesstimating based on sound and everything else, it's, even though she's pointing south by southeast instead of just south, it's a rough equivalent of where the city should be, giving you, once you get past the outskirts, past the expressways, which will most assuredly get you all killed if you try to cross it, because there's one rule when taking the 90, and that's don't stop. The second rule is when you're going through Gary is step on the gas. So two people hoping to catch someone's attention is more likely to either get shot or run over.
So I can take from the hints around me that the lake's behind us to the north. To the south of us is a freeway overpass.
Yeah, some ways off, yes. There's train tracks between you and where the freeway is, but you know that roughly that way is.
So I'm at the steelworks somewhere between Whitling and Gary. I mean, that's 7 miles, but at least I've narrowed it down to neighborhood. Well,
Yes.
We have options. We're going to stay away from the freeway. We're going to get past it. There's a neighborhood to the south of the freeway. Or we can head to the airport and see what Enterprise has to offer.
I'm not sure heading to the airport might be a good idea. Security is always higher at airports and train stations.
Yeah, the cameras are everywhere. So let's head to the south. Hopefully we'll cross across maybe 4th Street or McDonald's. And there'll be stop and rubs and fast food joints there that we might be able to abscond a late model POS of the Ford Persuasion.
So you begin making your way, trekking, as only those who don't have the same lactic acid buildup that everyone else, that every living being has. That you begin moving in the way that only those who could easily trudge from sunset to sunrise move. You move with purpose at a mid-range speed, and before you realize it, you've already begun entering into an urban area, a outlying stretch of the city. Now, the problem with entering into the outlying aspects of any city, including a city as well down the sliding slope into abject poverty as Gary, is you all are noticed. People stay out of your way. People walking by themselves are potential victims. People walking in pairs are potential abusers, accosters, or worse. And based on Gary's demographic, the two of you dressed as a trap in the making. Somewhere not too far from where you all are, the General Akbar meme is passed from phone to phone. Away there, they saw you coming. Not far from where you are, there's a car who picks up speed as he sees you moving down the sidewalk. Gary's a city of survivors. Not people who live, not people who thrive, but people who survive by their wits, their gall, and their basic necessity to continue moving because there's nothing else they have. And so you all present the image as to what you are, predators and threats to their continued existence. It's a weird feeling, powerful feeling recognized as the monster you are. And unlike you, Brigitte revels in it. She enjoys it. She doesn't have to put on her mask of servility. She doesn't have to force herself down into a palatable, acceptable box. Her stride takes on a small bit of a bounce, small bit of her ever-present wariness, looking more and more like the tiger stalking through the tall grass.
Brigitte, not to put too fine a point on this. We're foreigners in a foreign land, and you look like you're looking for lunch.
I can't say that I'm not. This is a surprisingly well-stocked larder. With a little bit of work, I'm sure we could scare up, a moment or two. But I'm not sure what strikes your fancy these days. Most of our sorts are bent toward a certain level of predatory awareness. You seem to be looking for the nearest drug dealer.
It's a holdover from when my copper days. I like my food portable and not self-motivated. And he pulls the bottle out of his trench coat pocket that he had when he got zapped into her little cloud room. I like to have what Dia lovingly refers to as my penchant for donuts. I keep my donuts on me, and he takes a swig and offers her the bottle.
I'll not be drinking that. If I was going to help anything, I'd have one of the poor or sick who might be visiting such a place as that. She points, and there is a pharmacy in a 4-story building, the sign along the side next to the clock. It looks as if in another life it may have been a bank building, but currently it's just your fairly unmarked sort of building. You realize from some of the stone seals around it that it's a Knights of Columbus building. And you look at the street sign and realize that you're just passing 5th Avenue. And you're there at Madison, roughly, based on the signs you saw a block back. So strangely enough, the sign here has been taken down. There's a little debris along the sidewalk. The garbage can has been overfilled for long enough for them to build a small layer of moss. And as you take in the building there to your left, the Knights of Columbus building, there's a martial arts dojo on the first floor, taking up the first and clearly second floor of one of those suites. The students inside look to be the sort that would take a class at a mall for a weekend and drop it, but based on the sweat and the sheer visceralness to which they are sparring, they have found their niche. Whoever the teachers are or were have found a way to motivate them to want to attack, to want to defend with their fists, knees, and other extremities the world around them.
Well,
Right.
Darling, I don't think you're gonna find much to your liking here at this time of night. The only kind here are gonna want to be fighting back.
Well,
Although, kind taking classes aren't paying attention to their cars.
and where do you think the cars might be? There's nothing here. Street, the sidewalk parking unused in the street, very much looking like the sort of place one would set up an ambush, because there's 3 easy means of escape: North Madison, South Madison, or taking 12th in either direction, east or west. This is the sort of place where this building would be a prime suspect for a potential robbery. You break in, take what you want, and there's too many ways to get away. And then there's the fact that across the street there's a bus terminal.
How well have you been appointed in the area of finance between you and your sire?
We live by our wits and receive a stipend.
But you have a car. You travel in some measure of class, yes?
When I have to take such conveyances, yes, I do. But the problem with our kind, if you haven't noticed, anything with a bit of the spark or the technology to it fails. There's not necessarily the most convenient time for something to fail on us.
Yeah, but I'm betting that a 30-year-old public transportation system would probably resist the effects of you and I sitting together for a nice chat while we rode the public bus.
Are you serious?
You're good for a bus?
You want me to be pressed firmly against your side as sweaty, poor, easily missed coin are moving about our day, climbing on the bus, too tired to keep their eyes open, making themselves a delicious morsel, sitting 5, 10, 15 feet, a dash, a step away, easily exploitable. And you want us to sit there and smell their sweat and their plump jowls vibrating as they snore themselves into oblivion. The bus is a smorgasbord, and holding back from taking a bite would be wrong on so many levels. It'd be torture. No, you're asking to torture me without even buying me a drink first.
Oddly enough, the sadistic side of me greatly enjoys the entire mental image of you trapped on a bus with your admitted taste, and your only recompense is to break the masquerade or take a nip from me bottle.
Do you believe I give 2 flying fly farts as far as the masquerade?
No, but
I've not done so right now because we're lost in God knows where, in the middle of the hell that is the Midwest. The only reason why not is because I do have a bit of loyalty when it comes to my sire. There's a job that needs doing, and it has to be done. The only reason why I haven't tormented, tortured, or otherwise fed in these few short hours is because there's a job that we need to do.
exactly.
And if I'm going to be tormented, if the job is on pause, then I'm going to head into that little dojo and see what have they have actually learned and see how much hell can I bring to them in this moment. I will make them dread this night. She turns around and begins heading toward the building.
Remember, we're here to work for your sire. If the Piscateers falls, it is a direct assault on her power within Dalton. And it came from Gary. We need to get back.
You want to sit on the bus? Let's fucking sit on the bus. But I swear to God, one person falls asleep, I will slaughter the entirety of the bus. Driver and everything that breathes. So you best hold your breath.
Oh, something.
What do you mean?
So I take the very reluctant and angry La Sombra. This is probably my best day ever as a vampire. We sit at the bus stop and wait.
Strangely enough, unlike most places at this hour of the evening, the bus is still running. It's one of the few things that does, even though in Gary, that is the last thing you want, a roving meal. And that's exactly what you find yourselves upon, because Brigitte is not the only predator out. As you all pass several neighborhoods, as the buildings get cleaner, the yards get smaller, the lights work more as you all head south along the route.
The entire time, to make sure nobody falls asleep, just to really drive in that nail into her skull, I'm singing Irish folk songs, starting with Whiskey in a Jar, just to make sure everybody's awake.
Well, now.
He's the one who told me I don't have to do my American accent pretense anymore.
As you near 15th, the bus makes a left onto 15th. The driver pulls to the side and tells you in no uncertain terms, everyone off! We're done. It's over. The bus is dying, and so are my fucking ears. Get off!
So how far did we make it before I drove him nuts?
You're on 50. You're roughly on 15th. If you were looking at the map, you'd be on 15th and just a half a block past Jefferson.
Wow, we didn't make it far. 15th and Colfax, Bird, Clinton, Colfax. So many president names. God, I hate Ellis, Rutledge, Marshall, Haney, Wade, White, Jennings, Noble, Wallace, Biggie. Fucking Jesus Christ. But you said the neighborhood got better?
Oh, loads better. Worlds upon worlds better. There's still lots of vacant lots and little small places where you can see the framework of the city, which has fallen into the state of disrepair. But as you all trundle off the bus, you smart enough and savvy enough to keep Brigitte from exiting the bus, to be waiting like the spider for every fly that falls into her web. When you finally exit the bus, south across this vacant lot, there's a church with its lights blinking. Just blinking. It's a little late, but disrepair having become the status quo, you don't think overly much on it. And as everyone makes their way, beginning to walk east over 15th, and you and Brigitte are standing there, the bus turns around. You've never seen such a heinous display of driver's skill. The bus driver literally pulls a bootleg U and heads back west over 15th to make that ride up Madison and continue back north. Literally the most blatant display of fuck it you've ever seen.
So basically, I am at the corner of, very near the corner of Madison and 15th.
Madison's a block west of where you are. You are at Jefferson and 15th, yes.
Okay. So I see a church to the south, another church to the south, another church to the south, in a pattern.
That's a pattern?
I'm a Tremere. I see patterns in everything. I look over where the Zion Temple
Apostolic? Yeah.
and see if there are cars in the parking lot.
There are. There is a car in the parking lot.
A car?
There is a singular car in the parking lot. And it's covered in less than completely solid bird waste.
What, is it an old car?
Yeah, it's a 2007, 2008.
I rummage through the files I keep in my head about the time I spent in robbery and try to remember how to bust into said car.
Well,
More importantly, start it, because busting in, I'm going to let her do.
the part that sucks is that most Nissans of that year were push start, which was a horrible idea, especially in Boston, because most people didn't lock their car doors. They'd close it and move on, because they figure you can't push start the car if the fob is far enough. However, while that is true, you could still get inside and pop the trunk, pop the hood, and rifle through the center console and take whatever's in the trunk and whatever you can quickly undo beneath the hood. People were losing significant amounts of money between athletic equipment, money stashed in the center console, documents to help forge identifications left in cars, to outright stealing transmissions from the motor. They had enough time when you stagger in for a pint and a half and come back out 7 pints later to find your car still locked and closed until you realize you didn't lock it.
Things gone. More importantly, if you can pop the hood, you can ground the solenoid to the starter. Like, I walk up, I check if the car is unlocked, because it's obviously not cared for.
You walk into the car, you realize that there's semi-solid mass across the hood and across the bonnet are in fact fairly fresh. It's a disgusting idea, but it's bird poop is bird poop. The part that gives you pause, even without thinking about it, even without really focusing on the flickering light out of the church, having already noticed that there's a pattern at play, a pyramid to be exact, you pause as you look into the car. At least you appear to be looking at the car. What you're actually doing is counting the flickers of the light on the church behind you. And you realize that SOS flight. SOS flight. SOS. And you count. You're sure that's what's being flickered in lights.
At this point, I get a little tense, and I check the door myself.
The door in the car?
Yes.
It is unlocked. But the moment that you touch it, there's a recognition, a feeling of being here, feeling of feeling that before. And while the door swings freely, there's a small bit of hesitation. Because there's impossible. There's no way that there's no way. There ain't no way. There just is no. But yeah, you know what you felt. You know what you see. Someone boarded that car door.
Versus vampires or others?
In warning. Something else, somewhere else, is receiving the pain of that ward being broken. However, someone warded that door. You know what you felt. A small, unimpressive amount of electricity passing through you, though there's no electricity there to pass through you. A small little tremor of shock there's nothing there to shock you. And that can only mean one thing. And while it's disgusting, and while it's deplorable, despicable, and only someone of the sickest of mind would do so, there are several things that can help provide power, that can help provide fuel. Blood, death, or another sacrifice. How do birds poop? What must happen before they evacuate the bow?
Oh, that's not okay. Brigitte, it's time to get in the car.
Hold on, Troy. Why are we getting into the car that's covered in bird feces?
Because a Tremere owns this car, now knows I've opened the door, and this amount of bird poo presented this rapidly could only mean a few things, and none of them are good for us. The other church is doing Morse code. We need to get the hell out of here.
For fuck's sakes. And she begrudgingly opens the door with her foot, kicking it open.
Woman, don't be a toreador. Get in the damn thing.
Kicking it open and sliding inside without touching anything save the seat, and you can tell that she shudders as she closes the door, that she has to use her hand to close the door. She looks at her hands as if she has rubbed them into someone's life and blood, or at least how a normal person would look if their hands were covered in blood. That's how she looks at them, checking both tops and bottoms, the palms and the outsides, and inspecting her nails, because there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way.
Woman, you're not a bloody rose. You're a shadow mage. Get over it. And after he's popped the hood, he goes around and he grounds the solenoid to the starter.
And the car starts up.
He immediately slams the fucking hood down, runs around, goes, we need to leave because there's Tremeres about, and they're not the ones that I belong to. These are more those rat bastard black hand motherfuckers you were going on about. Possibly worse because they're Tremere. And I slam on the gas.
Stepping on gas and spinning out of the lot, she begins going through the console. There's a little of this, little of that, a vial of crushed up something. There's a bit of dirt or dust, she's not sure which. There's a few splinters of wood covered in looks to be red paint. There's a vial of something dried and red that's flaky and broken. There's in the glove box actual full-fledged Rubbermaid gloves designed for cleaning, heavy-duty variety, extra large. You know, because the package is still there inside as well as she's rifling and rummaging. She pulls out the registration. Fucking right bastard, that looks like, doesn't it? And she tries to sound out the name. She really can't. And she gets Antonio right. Antonio. Fucking name sound Antonio. That seems right American, doesn't it? But then look at this bullshit. C-A-L-L, whatever the fuck this is. It looks like it's a Greek Japanese fella, don't you think? Calabalarshi, whatever this is. Anyway, she tosses that to the side. She continues rummaging, and there's more of the same implements that she found in the center console, but there's a larger variety of them, including a clearly kept long enough to dry bag of formerly blood. They're red flakes of what the mass formerly was, and it's clear that it is the sort that was taken in the hand, because near the injection port there's bits of blood still stuck to it. If not for the sealed wax around the edge, you're sure that it would have leaked out before it dried and desiccated, but lo and behold, there it is. There is a medium-sized ceremonial dagger in the form of a snake, an asp to be exact, and several other implements and thaumaturgical ends.
Seth gets on the 15th and is heading just east. Because 15th gets him all the way to the 41, and then he can use the 41 through Calumet to get in to Dalton. But he's peripherally aware of what she's pulling out of the console. It's like, okay, so it seems like we done stole a Tremere's car. All of the things you're pulling out of the console, don't touch it, don't eat it. Basically put it in the back seat. We don't want any of that to touch any of us, especially the dagger. An axe dagger is usually meant for sacrifice, and it's usually heavily magicked.
Oh, fuck. What are you? Tremere off into that you need such things. This is utterly disgusting. It smells like there's some in there. These vials are sealed. Why does it smell that way? It smells like something's bowels, and not just the shite on the outside of the car. I mean, it gets worse. And she closes the glove box, and then she opens it. She closes it. Oh yeah, it definitely gets worse every time. This is fucking ridiculous, and everything's sealed. I thought there might have been something open, but no. Wait a minute.
Woman, it's magic. It defies the laws of everything you know. Don't touch it. Keep it closed. Once we get away from whatever the hell this is, because all of this thing screams fallen Tremere. And there's rumors of a blood hunt in Gary on a Tremere and his little coterie. We need to get the hell out of here, and then when we find an appropriate place, we're gonna open a window and we're gonna throw most of this shit out.
Wouldn't you be upset if someone toast your shite? Or if they find the car, they can take their things back and they feel better about it. I don't like the scent of it. I don't like the look of it. I don't like knowing that whatever this wood bits and dried blood could do is dangerous. I don't like any of it. But,
we have two options. We can toss it out now while we're pulling out of the parking lot, so the asshat that created it all can get it back, or we can take it far away and throw it into a river. So he can't have it. So he can't use it against, well, us or other vampires that are on our side.
As you wish. Oh, it's your wheelhouse. I'll let you toss it. I'm not touching anything else. And she throws her arms across her chest, folding her arms into herself, and all but pouting. If not for the fact that you are 100% sure that in the stand-up, drag-out fight that you're not sure who would come out ahead if you and Frost fought her.
You stay like that. I'll get you back to the Pesketeers. We'll find out what's going on. I promise. So 15th turns into 169.
Yep, 169th. You're not far from Party Town.
I'm going to cut through Hammond. And then I'm going to take the 41 down to 94. And then take the 94 up into Dalton. That is my current plan.
And it's a great plan.
I'm not sure it's going to happen, but there's not a single river, lake, or other large body of water I can throw this nasty shit into on the route to home. But that is my current route. I'm trying to distract Brigitte from the nastiness that is surrounding her, because we are in a car full of magical crap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Brigitte, just know that I'm trying to get you back. I'm trying to get you to where your sire wants to be. We've only got so much time. But as soon as we can, we'll dump all of this stuff. Because whoever's using it is not doing it for good purposes, not for kind, not for kindred, just not. The only reason to have these things available to you is to do unkind things. The asp dagger especially is odd and not friendly. But as soon as we get to someplace safe, someplace where we can call on friends, we'll make sure we dispose of all of it.
For a while, I've got no choice in that matter, and I'm just hoping that we make it there in peace, especially with everything that you've put me through on purpose. I'll accept it as a prank that it is, but I swear to God, I swear to Cain himself, that if anything else goes wrong, that I will wreak my vengeance. And if you speak on it, you and I will have to have a tumble.
What happens in Gary stays in Gary. I promise. No chance that I'll spend any time sharing it with anyone.
And it's funny that as you... It's funny that as you make that statement and as you earnestly, honestly mean that, especially in this moment, that like the clouds parting, the last rays of the day's sun comes petering through after a full day mid-storm, after a full day of the elements attempting to very much drive home the fact that man is the smallest creature in the entirety of all existence. And just when all hope is all but vanished, and you've given up hope of ever being dry or warm again, the sun peeks through the clouds and says that everything's going to be okay. That's what it's like as you all ease into the village limits, Dalton. That's what it feels like. You've managed to survive.
We're on the 94 North, right?
You're on the 94, moving right into what you know.
Through River Oaks up to the Cloverleaf at 83.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use that Cloverleaf to get on Lincoln, because Lincoln gets us through up to the Pisketeers. If I remember where it is correctly. Yeah, there it is. So
it does.
I use the 84 Cloverleaf to get out.
Unlike most people, you don't go up to Dalton and over 142nd, then over to Lincoln and up. One, because while it seems faster taking the expressway a few moments longer, you know that 142nd, well, there's no way to put it. It is heavily monitored and watched by Mitchell and his people. They keep a watch on ins and outs of the common ways in and out of the village. And within moments, it comes to someone's attention that Seth McLarian was entering the village when no one saw him leave.
Exactly.
Luckily for you. No, go on.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go on.
I'm going to take the Lincoln Avenue up and cut across Cottage Grove and then jump on a 42nd, because it puts me near the estuary, whatever the hell that big body of water is.
Yeah, it's a man-made creek. Well, it's a man-modified forming body of water, but, well, things happen along the way. All the same, you arrive at the Pisketeers, and it's closed for business.
Of course it is.
And the feel of magic about the place is of such significant level, you would be hard-pressed to prove that the Pisketeers is not, in fact, a chantry.
Bloody hell. Okay. So I've taken the cutout behind the Pisketeers. Brigitte? Madam?
All right.
take your leave of the car. We're gonna push this whole fucking thing into the estuary.
We may need another escape, and there's enough seats for your friends. Let's get inside and see what the bloody hell has happened. And you take the lead.
My car is here, and it's not filled with magical gewgaws, nor bird shite.
She rests her hands on yours. You have made me drive amongst the filth of humankind, and you made me drive in this vehicle covered in the innards of some bird. We're going in, and we're going to hurt something till I feel better. Then you'll worry about the details later.
I bow as any good Irishman would to the wisdom of a woman. But I leave the car parked really close to the water. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting ready to push this bitch in.
As you all enter through the nearest VIP tunnel that leads down, around, and takes a fairly longer way to get in, but it is far more secure than attempting to storm the front or rear door of the building. When you make it back through into the tunnel and slide the panel out of the way, you are in, unfortunately, one of the suites, simply because you haven't mapped out the tunnels just yet. And Zach and a waifishly thin, tall, dark-haired man are in the suite. And he looks from Zach to you to Brigitte. Well. I didn't expect you guys back so soon. I knew you were, because you're being, a Tremere and all, that you figure it out. I just didn't think you'd do it so quick. Hell, it took, anyway, you don't even know who it took. Welcome back home. Me and Zach were getting ready to know each other, and you are just in time. Don't do anything stupid, because you hurt me, you hurt Dia. You hurt Dia, you hurt the Pescateers. Everything goes sideways. We good? All right, we're good. Fuck off. Oh, wait, that was rude. Forgive me. I'm sorry. All right, Shadow Monster, Warlock. I'm Antonio Calabarshi. I'm your new minor stake partner here at the Pescateers. Welcome home. Good to see you. Glad you guys have had a great time. Now fuck off.
Antonio, you say? And then he remembers that he's not alone with Brigitte right now. Carbonara, whatever the fuck your last name is.
Calabalarshi, Mr.
Yeah, you're gonna be Carbonara from now on. Peas.
Let's not do that, otherwise I really will have to kill Frost.
You would have to try really hard to kill that crazy young man.
Not as hard as you think. You seem to forget. Newborn, gangrel impulses, far too quick of a whip fire of a temper. What trap do you think he's going to fall into, Fairy? He's going to lay another hand on me.
He's going to lay another hand on you.
Oh, you! I like this!
By the way, Tony, we're just going to call you Tony, because Carbonara is too many fucking syllables. Tony, I have your car outside.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much for bringing that. What do you think of the decor? Do you think it's a great idea to have the birds be the sacrifice? All the death helped me take over this place and keep it nice and safe. So, again, me and Zach have a deal to work out to keep your friend Frost from getting fucked up real bad. So, why don't you go ahead and fuck off so we can talk?
Zach, what's the story?
Don't worry about it. It's just to keep Frost from getting killed. There's been enough death tonight.
The 45 is in his hands right now.
Oh my goodness. That's a big gun. Are you making up for something? Come on. Go ahead. Do you know anything about the great Sylvia Raines? Remember she set forth a theory as to how to repel force for force? Let's give it a shot. Let's see how successful it is, considering that in the matter of 4 hours, I was able to take your ley line nexus. You really want to give it a shot? Come on, go ahead. Make it good.
You took our ley line? That's an interesting choice.
It is.
You took the ley line below the Pisketeers. I'm curious. I'm asking. You took the ley line below the Pisketeers that stretches out, right?
Look at you trying to figure it out. You know full well that this is a nexus point.
Because I was a horrible student, and I just want to know. There's a ley line under the Pisketeers.
There's a nexus under the Pisketeers. You didn't know? Your good friend Regent Rich, who just left, didn't tell you? Oh my goodness, what are you, damaged?
I'm not damaged. I'm just wondering whether you know that he knows. And he does know. Which is unfortunate. Basically for you.
You, my friend, I wish you luck. No, seriously, this is kind of a private conversation. Really, we're getting to know each other. You can look at them, the sadness that they were under, fearing for their friend. Let us work this out amongst ourselves. And
you said Regent Rich just left.
Oh, yes, he did. Just
and Magister Oren probably isn't here, and Regent Rose is probably at home. Yeah, there's a whole lot of things that I need to coalesce about all that information.
Really? It sounds like something might be working. Maybe we should go talk to Dia. Or, do you prefer Concordia? Senator White? Yeah, that sounds far more professional. That being the case, literally, in this moment.
By the way, your friend, I don't know what friend it was issuing SOS Blight. Just so you know. I mean, obviously you don't know now, but I'm telling you.
Yeah, they're probably dead, but too concerned over that. They killed the Birdmaster. Yeah, there's just something about actually dying that just doesn't agree with me. So I take what precautions I can to make sure that doesn't happen as frequently as possible. What you need to do, and this is from the bottom of my unbeating heart, you and the lovely redhead here, I don't mind people watching, I don't mind voyeurism. You gotta either be fucking quiet or fuck off. I really can't say it any better than that. More direct. I noticed your accent when you first came in here. Are you sure there's nothing I can do to help you out, make your mind up to move a little bit faster? I know you guys are a little slow. After all, everything's legal in Philly.
I just want to know what your plan is.
Oh, that's very, very, very easy. I'm going to while away the year with the lovely Mr. Volkier here as we talk. I'm going to help them through their issues, and they're going to help me through mine. It's going to be an exchange of thoughts and feelings, and it's going to be a great moment. It's going to be cathartic for us both. And then when I'm done, I'm going to go and retrieve the implements from my car, maybe give it a quick wash. And then, once that's done, I'm going to enjoy bedding down in my suite here at the Biscuiteers in Senator White's hospitality.
That's an interesting plan, and we're going to let you get to that. Brigid, let's let the young man do what he wants to do. And I point her back down towards the VIP that we just came from.
And as you all head down the VIP, and the panel is slidden back into place, it's slid back to where it belongs, there's a foreboding sense. There's a foreboding sense because while everything being everything, there's not any way that he had time to do more than what he stated. He's ensured somehow that he, the Biscuiteers, and Dia are bound. And that worries. That is a thorn in the side. Because if he's found a way to tie himself to Dia, and he's found a way to tie Dia to the Biscuiteers, and he's found a way to do so in such a manner that Regent Rich is unable to immediately respond, the only thing you will have working for you is the same thing he'll have working for him. Time.
Exactly. So as soon as we're out of eyesight, Seth runs. Just fucking bolts. I mean, he doesn't have celerity, but he fucking hauls vampire ass back out to the car.
And back at the car.
He takes all of the shit that Verdid found offensive, puts it in a pile with the asp dagger on top, and drops corrosive blood on the fucking lot of it. If any part of that is important to what he needs to do next, after he's done with Zach, I want to make sure he doesn't have access to any of it. It's 35 centimeters per blood per hunger point. And I can rouse to resist losing that point.
And then Seth begins frantically working against the clock, frantically seeking purchase against whatever's fallen into place. Draw to a close with the night waning. A conversation between Antonio Calabalarchi and Dia somewhere in the building, Frost somewhere in the building, Tyven, and even Ashley.
Yeah, he's aware of all of the people involved, but he wants to fuck this person in particular. So the asp dagger on a pile of burnt blood, offerings, coagulated blood, all that other shit.
Yes.
Just spread corrosive blood over the whole fucking mess. And 35 square centimeters of materia start to dissolve.
Striking a blow for himself and his pride and attempting to wrest victory from whatever has occurred in his absence, we draw to a close and end the episode with Seth waiting for the next step, giving him time to plan what he will do to mount an affirmative defense against this being, against this personage.
Yes.